Sharia finance, how Islamists are quietly taking over Britain. Wahid Invest, a Sharia-compliant investment firm backed by Saudi Aramco and French footballer Paul Pogba, caused outrage in the UK with a provocative ad campaign featuring euros and US dollars in flames with the tagline, "Join the money revolution." Well, Wahed defended the campaign as a critique of inflation and a call for a fairer system without interest. The Advertising Standards Authority, or ASA, banned it, citing its offensive nature and potential to alienate international travelers. Beneath the surface, this isn't just about marketing. It's a glimpse into the growing influence of Sharia finance in the West. Sharia-compliant banking, which avoids interest and adheres to Islamic law, may appear benign, but it is deeply tied to a broader Islamist agenda. These systems funnel money through an ecosystem controlled by Sharia scholars, reinforcing Islamist power structures and embedding Islamic principles into Western economies. Wahed's ties to controversial British Islamist figures and its promotion of Sharia financing as a solution to global wealth inequality raises red flags about its real motives. As the ad campaign declared, quote, "Charging people to borrow money was once called exploitation." But the reality is that Sharia financing is less about fairness and more about advancing a worldview fundamentally at odds with secular values. So I thought this was really interesting because this ad campaign in general in the UK caused like a little bit of a stir. And now the ad has been banned by the Advertising Standards Authority because it was reported by so many people for being offensive because it shows US dollars and euros on fire. Personally, I don't think people actually like cared that much about the money being on fire. I think they just didn't love that Sharia stuff is like openly being pushed in public all across like double-decker buses, all throughout the tubes. Like I think that was maybe what people had a little bit of a contention with. But in general, I wanted to talk about this whole problem of Sharia financing because we've talked about this about how Trudeau himself in Canada said that they need to create Sharia mortgaging options for people in Canada as a way to like integrate people and make sure that, you know, like Muslims have access to the same things. Meanwhile, people like Armin and I would contend that that is actually the exact opposite of integration because that is promoting more conservative forms of Islam, which are antithetical to more integration into our societies. But to help explain this a teeny bit, I wanted to show this video that Dee found of this guy in London explaining a little bit about Sharia financing. Now, this is like, because probably people have no idea what are the details of this and how it works. So let's just check this out really quickly. Can I unmute? No, I can't unmute. Thank you. Okay. So really quick, let's do like very high level overview.
So this right here is an Islamic bank, and here's how you can use it to make halal investments in property. Islamic banks operate very differently to conventional banks because they follow Sharia law, which bans the use of interest, also known as riba. So instead of charging interest, Islamic banks offer finance options which allow Muslims to make halal investments, but just like me and Jamal did for Airbnb investments in Morocco. One common method is known as murabaha, which is where the bank will buy the property on your behalf and sells it to you at a pre-agreed higher price. And this is where
You're muted.
Sorry, I need to pause a little bit because the music might be copyrighted, so we shouldn't let it play for a long time, and then let's continue.
As murabaha, which is where the bank will buy the property on your behalf and sells it to you at a pre-agreed higher price. And this is where you avoid interest.
Mother effer, that's interest. That's interest with extra
no, we're going to
steps.
talk about this. Don't worry, hold on. We're going to talk about
Plan is clear, halal from the start. Option number 2 is ijara, where the bank purchases your property and leases it back to you, and over time you will be paying rent to the bank, and eventually inshallah the property will then be transferred to you once the payments are complete. Again, all in the halal way.
That's interest.
Yeah, people will very quickly identify that this is interest by a different name. They're like,
You know,
so you're
this.
telling me it's interest with extra steps. The
You
other
know what? I
problem
think
is,
this.
go ahead.
What I just think this is a scam, but I don't mean it. This is a scam against Allah. They're trying to trick Allah. They're hoping that the Almighty, knower of all, okay, is not going to notice that Muslims are trying to do interest. Like they're trying to actually trick Allah. They think like Allah says interest is a sin, and like, but what if we sneak, like hoping like they're gonna make it to heaven because Allah didn't notice what they're doing. This is a scam against Allah. I'm calling it.
No, so
But go on.
this okay. I want to talk about like what is the problems with this system, and then Armin, I would like you to talk about like why we would be opposed to this in general. Like personally, for me, it's kind of well, I'll get to that. But basically, part of the reason why this is a bad system, even for Muslims, is that it is a lot of Muslims correctly point out that this is basically interest with extra steps. So they don't really like that. And also, depending on how these different arrangements are made, it often actually ends up being more expensive and less financially attainable for Muslim families than if they had just done a standard mortgage, for example. And so it's actually a very bad financial decision to make for their financial health, because they're going to end up actually paying more for the same thing because they had this convoluted agreement. If you're interested in learning more about this, the friendly ex-Muslim Abdullah Samir has made a lot of very good videos explaining the problems with Sharia and halal financing, and those videos have taught me a lot. But Armin, I mean, I think it's worth noting about, regardless of whether or not this is a bad financial decision and not financially healthy, I think we would have problems with it either way. And part of the reason why I have a problem with it is because this is validating Sharia within our societies. It's promoting for people to be more Islamic, be more conservative. And it is again putting the authority back in the lap of Sharia and the Islamic scholars instead of within our own financial institutions. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and also it brings money to the Islamic industry, right? Because this is a very good way for the ulama, the Islamic scholars and Islamic preachers and that Islamic institutions to come and cut a piece of the pie of the finance industry and bring it within, and basically you see, the finance industry is a very profitable industry. Very profitable industry.
I mean, it's kind of
So
in the
think
name.
about so think about all the private equity firms, all the banks, all the loaning insurance industry. So if the Islamic institutions could tell the Muslims of society that you need to be doing finance with us, then the profit from the finance industry will fund the rest of these Islamic institutions and make them more relevant, make them more important, make them more well funded. So this is very dangerous. I also made an image with AI to be able to explain to you guys what's happening here. All right. So in Islam, you can't eat pork. This is the equivalent of doing this, right? to be able to eat pork, right? They're like, this is a cow. We can eat it now. That's basically what they're doing, right? I just wanted
Why
to
is that
show
pig
you have
so
a
cute?
visual demonstration of what's happening here. Okay.
Well, and this is something I had a question about when I was doing research about it. I saw some scholars say, and Armin, I'm asking you because you're more knowledgeable than me, that this way of doing Sharia financing is actually more of a modern invention that is like taking a principle and making it more conservative than it actually has traditionally been in Islamic societies. And they're basically saying traditionally it's not that they were against all interest. Like your economies actually need interest to be thriving.
Oh yeah. You
But
don't
no,
have
let me finish.
Okay.
It's that there was a belief that it was exorbitant interest that was haram. It was
bullshit.
too much interest that was haram. So is that accurate or no?
Bullshit. This is something that Islam inherited from Judaism, okay? And they're trying to come up with something. It's just basically interest. Interest is haram. If you want to lend money to someone else, Islam says that you cannot charge interest over it. So if you need money from me, let's say you need $1,000 from me, in Islam, if I give you $1,000, you would eventually, when you pay me back, it should be $1,000. Okay, I cannot charge interest on that. Like I'm encouraged to lend you money. Lending money is okay because I'm helping out a fellow Muslim, right? But if you pay me back, I cannot charge you extra, which is basically Islam not understanding the time value of money. There's value. I took a risk and I could have done things with that money in that meantime that would have brought profit. So when I gave you that money, the time that passes that you have that money has some value in it, and Islam doesn't understand that. And that's basically the foundation of all finance, right? So if you have we don't have Sharia, so Sharia finance is a contradiction, okay? Because without interest there is no such thing as finance, right? So there is no Sharia finance because because these two are contradictory to each other, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, you cannot even. So here's the thing: if like we had interest in different ways since the beginning of civilization, right? If you say like, hey, I have this area where I could raise some chicken, okay, but I don't have money to go buy chicken and feed my chicken. Can you give me some? Okay, let's say we don't even have money. Let's say like, hey, I have the land. Can you bring your chicken here and raise them and feed them? And they're like, sure, I will do that, but I need some of the egg, then for this to be worth my chickens, then that would be interest on my original investments. So even with like this is part of how everything works. Like this is part of how we have growth in society. Like this is
basic
how economies
economic
grow.
incentive.
Yes, I think people who are anti-interest, their experience with interest is just basically credit cards and these very aggressive
Student
what do you
loans.
call it? Shark loans, things that take it like
Loan
abuse
sharks.
people, but loan sharks or stuff like that. Yeah, but that's not all experience with interest. Interest is just basically recognizing the time value of money, which is basically the foundations of everything finance related. Anyways, I don't want to do a finance 101 here. Should we quickly do the comments?
Yeah, can you do
We
the
already
comments
did that
while
one.
I go to the bathroom?
Yes. Okay, let's do that. So this guy is saying you'll see these adverts all across London now, including on the underground. Sadiq Khan has previously banned junk food ads, body shaming ads, one of them for showing a wedding cake. Really? That's a lot of government involvement. And then continue to say, but apparently ads featuring an Islamist promoter of Sharia law is okay. And these are look at these celebrities they're putting there. This must be very lucrative. Like I can't even imagine how much money these people are making. And then somebody saying here, is everybody still okay with sitting on the sidelines? Yeah. And then somebody else commented, the company is probably a front for money laundering. I mean, guys, even if it doesn't have to be a front for money laundering, because the front itself is going to be financing. Like you don't need to be a front for something else. You could do what they're doing is going to be funding Islamic institutions right in front of your face. They don't need to be hiding anything. All right, so those are the comments there. Oh, Susie's profile picture is me, so she didn't change it. Let's. Oh, by the way, D was pointing this out earlier in the stream as well. D was saying they just add the interest into the price. Exactly. D understands what's happening here. Okay, so we have some super chats, but let me actually remove this tab and then go to this tab because I want Susie to read the super chats. Okay, like I'll do it before Susie comes. All right, so
I'm
Susie's
back.
here. You're back. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
David the Goliath is asking, thank you for the super chat, David. Weird question, but why do white supremacists consider groups like Chechens, Dagestanis, Bosnian, Albanian Muslims to be white? I don't think they would like these whites immigrating to the West. What it has to do with ethnicity?
Yeah. I mean, why so like are we really trying to make sense of these people as if they make any sense their views? And first of all, I'm assuming that many of these people have a diverse set of views. It's not like they all think the same. And also, they're not supposed to make sense because these people are insane. Like I don't know, I'm not experts in what these people the different ideologies that these people have, but they probably, I don't know. Yeah, I think like, and also if any of them does think like that, is because probably they think more about ethnicity rather than ideology, right?
Yeah.
And then next,
Dan Dave saying, my favorite part of Islam is that Allah will send you to hell for not believing in him, but he is okay with that as long as you pay the jizya tax. Great scheme.
no,
What?
you mistake. No, you're mistaking, Dan. If you pay the jizya, you still go to hell.
Yeah.
You just not, if you're a Christian or a Jew and then you abide by Islamic law and pay the jizya, that means that the Islamic government will not kill you. But once you die, you're still gonna go to hell forever and ever and ever and ever. Yeah. Yes.
Dan gave another super chat. Thank you for supporting the show, saying, do you think Islam or religion in general will survive space colonization? It'll be very sad if people will be offering namaz on a Martian colony. I think that there will always be religion in some sense. We have an inherent need for meaning making and origin story within our human psychology. Like, it's going to exist in one form or another.
Yeah. Until we're not human, unless technology gets us to a point where we're not human anymore.
Annabelle gave a super chat saying Christians were against interest, not Jews. Misunderstanding of
No.
Jesus' rebuke of the moneylenders.
No. We have within the Old Testament and the Torah. So you're saying Jews? Yeah, Jews were not themselves were not against interest, but within their commandment, within their religion, there's positions against interest. Just because Jews were not following it, that doesn't mean. So I'm talking about the religion. You're talking about the people.
And this is part of where the stereotype of the miserly Jew came from in the West.
Right.
Is because they served as the moneylenders
from?
often when Christians wouldn't.
You start the. What is that comment you said? Read that one.
No, that's just someone being racist to you.
Oh.
But I'm not going to highlight it. I just thought it was funny.
Okay. I think it's funny too.
They seem to think that you're Indian or something because they're using anti-Indian slurs against you.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do. And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.